आएंगे तेरा गम मनाएंगे बच्चों बीर की कसम बच्चों को अपने सजदे शब्बीर की कसम नमाजें हाँ नमाजें सिखाएंगे जिंदा रहे हुसैन तेरा गम मनाएंगे राहे हुसैन के शहीद राहे हुसैन के शहीद दो सलाम लो इनको ना अपने दिल से ना दे जिंदा रहे हुसैन तेरा गम मनाए होगा मुहर्रम का ये हशम होगा हम करबला में हम राह जाएंगे मनाएंगे
सल्ले अला मोहम्मद ज़ानुए शबीर है हुर का सर है ज़ानुए शबीर है तेरी तक क्या तेरी तक मरने वाले क्या तेरी तकदीर है हुर का सर है शबीर है आपने क्या ख्वाब देखा था खलील आपने क्या ख्वाब देखा था खलील करबला करबला उस ख्वाब की ताबीर है सर है ज़ानुए शबीर है जज़ाकल्लाह शाबाश जिंदाबाद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद
जब दागे बेकसी न सकीना उठा सकी और दर्दे दिल न खौफ के मारे सुना सकी खाए तमाचे शिमर के जब तक के खा सकी
सिंकम था दुख बहुत तेरा बर्दाश्त ला
सिंकम था दुख बहुत तेरा बर्दाश्त ला
सकी
रोई तो जालिमों ने जफा बेशुमार की
आखिर ये जबर देख के मौत इख्तियार
आखिर ये जबर देख के मौत
इख्तियार की
गैराह की तो शुम्र पुकारा खामोश हो और चुप हुई तो बेपिदरी ने कहा के रो गए शिद्दते अतशे पुकारी के पानी दो
गया करके रह गई बाबा की प्यास
गया करके रह गई बाबा की
प्यास को
सोई जो आंसू पहुँच के चश्मे पुराब से
हाय हाय हुसैन कह के फिर उठ बैठी
हाय हाय हुसैन कह के फिर उठ बैठी
ख्वाब से
दिल में समा गया था जो शुमरे लई का डर सोने में काम काम ये कहती थी रात भर फरियाद छीनता है गोगर शुम्रे बद गोगर
आता है इब्न साथ छुपो जाके मैं
आता है इब्न साथ छुपो
जाके मैं
आता है इब्न साथ छुपो जाके मैं
किधर
ज़ैनब पुपी संभालो कलेजा धड़कता है सज्जाद भाई देखो ये
कोली गुरा
सज्जाद भाई देखो ये
कोली गुरा
सज्जाद भाई देखो ये कोली गुरा जब प्यास लगती रोके चचा को पुकारती दुखते जो कान शाह खुदा को पुकारती आता न जब कोई तो खुदा को पुकारती
जीने से तंग हो के खुदा को पुकार
जीने से तंग हो के खुदा को पुकारती कहती थी ने चचाना इमामे उमम रखे रुलवाने को अधूरे रोने रुलवाने को अधूरे रोने को अब क्या लूटूंगी माल नहीं जर नहीं रहा अरे अकबर नहीं रहा अली असगर नहीं रहा रहने को कैद खाना मिला घर नहीं रहा हाथों मेरी इस्मा बजी जेवर नहीं हाथों मेरी इस्मा बजी जेवर नहीं रहा दौलत है कौन सी जिसे जिंदा में खोऊंगी रोना था जिसको रो चुकी अब किसको रोना था जिसको रो चुकी अब किसको रोगी अब मौत मेरी सबको करे खुदा, मरते ही मेरे कैद से सब कुन बहोरेगा। अरे जाता रहे बुकार बरादर का बेदवा, जन्नत को हम रवाओ मदीने को, जन्नत को हम रवाओ मदीने को। गुल हो सकीना लेके भला सब की मर गई, हैदर की पोती मुश्किलें आसान कर, हैदर की पोती मुश्किलें आसान, हैदर की पोती मुश्किलें आसान कर गई।
ला हौला वला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाहिल अलिय्यिल अज़ीम। अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि खालिक़िल खल्क़ बासितिर रिज़्क़ फ़ालिक़िल अस्बाह ज़िल जलालि वल इकराम वल फ़ज़्ल वल इनआम। सुम्मा अस्सलातु वस्सलाम व तहिय्यतु वल इकराम अला वल आखिरीन व ख़ातमिन नबिय्यीन व शफ़ीअल मुज़न्निबीन वल मुस्तफ़ा अहमद अबिल क़ासिम मुहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद व आले तय्यबीन अत्ताहिरीन अल मासूमीन अल मज़लूमीन अल मुंतजबीन अल मुंतखबीन अल मयामीन अल हादीन अल महदीयीन अल्लज़ीना अज़हबल्लाहु अन्हुम अर्रिज्सा व तहहरहुम तत्हीरा। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद फ़ीमा बक़ियतुल्लाहि फ़िल अर्ज़ीन अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फ़रजहु शरीफ व सअलल्लाहु तआला मख़रजहु शरीफ व लअनतुल्लाहि अला अअदाइहिम व ग़ातिल हुक़ूक़िहिम व मुनकरि फ़ज़ाइलिहिम व मनाक़िबिहिम व विलायतिहिम व मसाइबिहिम अजमईन मिनल आन इला यौमिद्दीन। अम्मा बअद फ़क़द क़ाला अल्लाहु अज़्ज़ा व जल अवलम यरल्लज़ीना वाहिदन फ़फ़तक़नाहुमा। For the acceptance of this Majlis and for the increment in spirituality, can we have another salawat with your loudest voices on Muhammad and Ali? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The topic for this year's discussion, as was proposed by the volunteers of these Majalis, they said that the discussion should be on some scientific concepts which have been spoken about from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and hence we decided that the topic for this year's discussion will be teachings of Ahlul Bayt and modern science. When we speak about science, some people are simply afraid of this topic in general because they think that the discussion will be based on difficult scientific terminologies, on difficult scientific concepts. But we'll try to discuss with limited scientific terminologies because we know that people from different walks of life come in this Majlis, and people with non-scientific background also come. Hence, we have decided to use minimum scientific terminologies and minimum difficult scientific words as far as possible. I'll try to keep the usage of scientific terminology, this level, I'll try to keep this level as minimum as possible. Now, before starting on this concept, before starting on this discussion, we need to lay down some ground rules. Like, for example, although this concept, although this topic has been widely discussed, but mostly this topic was discussed in reference to the glorious Quran. People have spoken on this topic, but in relation to the glorious Quran. The Quran and science, the scientific concepts which we read in the glorious Quran. But the Prophet himself, I leave behind two weighty things. The first is the book of Allah, and the second is my project. The traits which appear, which are of the Quran, the traits which are associated with the glorious Quran, the as well. Similarly, we must also try to understand the fact that although the Quran speaks on various scientific concepts, but ideally, Quran is not a book of science. Quran is not a book of physics. Although Quran has concepts of physics, although Quran has within its realms the concepts of chemistry, although the Quran has spoken on the creation of human being, although the Quran has spoken on the topics like creation of this universe, the stages of the creation of human beings, the stages a fetus goes through, although these concepts are in the glorious Quran, but ideally the Quran is not a book of science. Quran is not a book of physics. Quran is neither a book of chemistry. Quran is not a book of biology. Quran is not a book of logic. Ideally, the primary function of Quran is guidance. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alif Lam Mim. Zalikal Kitab la Raiba Fi. Hudal lil Muttaqin. This book is guidance for whom? For the pious. This book is guidance. Although this book speaks on the topics, on the concepts of science, speaks on different scientific topics, speaks on different topics of physics, chemistry, biology, logic, mathematics, etc., etc. But still the Quran primarily remains a book of guidance. Then a question is supposed to be asked, that if the Quran was ideally and is ideally a book of guidance, then why does the Quran address issues like this? Why the Quran speaks on issues on physics, on the concepts of biology, on the concepts of geology, on the concepts of mathematics? Why does the Quran speak on concepts like this? The answer is that Quran narrates the concepts of science in order to validate the legitimacy of this book. That, for example, if the Quran nearly 14 centuries ago has spoken on a particular scientific topic which was not even thought of at that time, and later, centuries later, that particular concept proves to be true, then this is sufficient enough to prove that this book was not an ordinary book, that this book was not written by an ordinary man, that this book was not authored by any ordinary person, that this book was revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the Quran, the concepts which have been addressed in the glorious Quran prove to be true in the coming years, in the coming centuries, then this is a proof that this is a book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The similar is the case with the traditions of Ahlul Bayt. The similar is the case with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. That the teachings, although the teachings of Ahlul Bayt address topics of science, of physics, of chemistry, of biology, of geology, of economics, etc., etc., but still the primary objective of Ahlul Bayt was guidance. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. The Quran speaks about its characteristic traits, that وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ, that we have revealed unto you a book which is an open explanation for everything. It is an نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It is an explanation for everything. For everything. But still its primary objective is وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. We have revealed unto you a book, and its primary objective is hudan, guidance, وَرَحْمَةً, and mercy, وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ, and glad tidings for the Muslim Ummah. The primary objective of this book is guidance. The primary objective and aim of this book, which was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is hidayat. Now this is the characteristic feature of this book which was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And similarly, this is the characteristic feature of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, because the Quran itself speaks about two different kinds of books. One is Kitab al-Samit and the second is Kitab al-Natiq. The first is the silent book and the second is the speaking book. The book which speaks, the Quran itself says, Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq, that this is our book. This is our book. Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq. This is our book, which is not a silent book, but rather it speaks with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This speaks truth. This speaks from Haqq subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not a silent book, but rather it is a book which communicates. It is a book which has nutq. Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq. And what is that book which has nutq? What is that book which speaks, which is not a silent book, rather a speaking book, which was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now remember last year when we were discussing Malik Ashtar, we discussed Siffin, and in that while discussing the battle of Siffin, we addressed this topic, that when the Quran was raised on lances and on spikes, at that very moment when Malik Ashtar was about to reach the camp of Fir'aun Sham, at that very moment the Hawaij took out the sword and encircled the camp of Amir al-Momineen and asked Amir al-Momineen to call Malik back, and were raising slogans like this, that we cannot fight against the Quran. They were raising their swords against Ali and saying that we cannot go against the Quran. They were raising their swords against Ali and were saying that we cannot fight a war against Quran. Remember this verse, Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq, that this is our book, which is not a silent book, but which is a speaking book, which has nutq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq. At that very moment, Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke about the tafsir of this verse. Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke about the ta'wil of this verse. Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke about the in-depth exegesis of this verse. Amir al-Mu'mineen pointed towards his chest and recited this particular verse and told the world that which is that book, which is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not an ordinary silent book, but this is a book which has permission from Allah to speak. This is a kitab al-natiq, not a kitab al-samit. Amir al-Mu'mineen pointed towards his chest and recited this very verse. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, Hada kitabuna yantiqu alaykum bil haqq. That this is the book of Allah which speaks from the permission of Allah. Salawat Muhammad and ala Muhammad. So we were discussing the fact that although Quran, which is a book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, speaks on the concepts of science, addresses the issues which are of scientific background, but ideally Quran is not a book of science. Quran is a book of guidance. Similarly, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are not something who can speak mainly on these issues of science and physics and biology and chemistry. Rather, they are the sources of guidance. They are the sources of guidance as Quran is a source of guidance, as Quran is a book of guidance. Similarly, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam themselves are the sources of guidance. So the Quran speaks on the scientific issues in order to verify the legitimacy of this book. That this book is not an ordinary book, that this book is not authored by an ordinary man, that this book This is a proof that this book was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam have addressed the scientific issues, but they are ideally, their teachings are not scientific, but rather they were also in this world for guidance. And these scientific concepts which have been addressed by the Ahlul Bayt are sufficient to prove that these infallibles, these Ahlul Bayt were not ordinary people. Like Quran, which addresses scientific concepts, which are proven in the upcoming centuries to be true. Similarly, the Ahlul Bayt, which address scientific concepts, and those scientific concepts are proven to be true. Quran is a book from Allah, and the Ahlul Bayt are guides from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we start with the first chapter of our discussion, and that is creation. The Quran also speaks on the concepts of creation, and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam have also spoken on the concept of creation. How this world was created, how this universe was created, how everything around us was created. Now the most prevalent theory in this particular world, in today's world, is the theory of Big Bang. I think everyone has heard the name of Big Bang. The theory of Big Bang says that the entire universe, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, everything was a unified, condensed, solid mass, a single unit. And subsequently there was a Big Bang. And the heavens were created, the earth was created, and everything which exists in the cosmos was created. Everything was created out of the Big Bang. Everything was in a single, unified, condensed mass, and there was a Big Bang, and subsequently everything was created. Now this is the most prevalent theory on the creation of this universe. But now see the difference between science and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. The science speaks on the effect, while the Ahlul Bayt tell us about the cause. Big Bang was the effect, the question remains unanswered. What was the cause of that Big Bang? The Quran also speaks on this very most prevalent theory in today's world. The Quran speaks about Big Bang in this particular verse which I recited at the end of the khutbah. Avalam yaral ladina kafaru anna as-samawati wal ardi ritqan wahidan fafataqnahuma. That those who disbelieve, don't they see that the heavens and the earth were all joined together and we separated them and we segregated them and we differentiated them. فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ رِتْقًا وَاحِدًا. That whatever is in the heavens and on the earth, everything was a single unit. Everything was a single condensed, solidified mass. And we separated them. فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. This we is the cause. And separation is the effect. Now I'll just wait for a moment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not say that I am the cause. He says we are the cause. This means that there are more than one causes of the creation of this universe. And last year we discussed on the cause of creation and survival of this universe. And we discussed this concept, this topic in great detail. That what is illat ghaya, illat maddi. The Quran says, فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. We differentiated them. We differentiated them. We differentiated them. Now see, this is the place where the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam come in the picture. The Quran speaks about this theory of Big Bang. And we separated them, we distinguished between them, we segregated them. Look, this is what is Kitab al-Natiq. Quran al-Natiq, Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. Imam alayhi salam also speaks on this particular theory. Also speaks on this particular theory. See, they are rasakhuna fil ilm. They know what is hidden and what is apparent in the glorious Quran. They can tell us what are the hidden meanings in a particular verse. Imam goes a step further and says that everything, the gist of the hadith is that everything in the universe, everything, whatever is in the heavens and on the earth, everything was one unit. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separated them. And when He separated, there were two poles created. Now see how Imam goes a step further. Imam is speaking on the creation of the universe. And Imam is going a step further. Imam is telling about the details of the creation. That when this universe was created, initially there were two poles formed. Two poles. Now what are two different poles? Now, as we know that the entire creation is made up of atoms. And an atom, I'll try to make it as simple as possible. An atom, which is supposed to be a very small unit, has in its center a nucleus which has a proton and a neutron. And there are electrons encircling that particular nucleus. Now you'll revise your chemistry and physics, whatever you studied in your elementary school, everything will be revised there, inshallah. So there is a nucleus which bears a positive charge, proton, and there are electrons which bear a negative charge, which encircle that particular nucleus. Everything by its nature has two different poles. What is the pole? Anything can be a positive, and anything which is opposite to it will be a negative. Anything can be positive, and anything which is just opposite to it can be negative. The entire universe is composed of poles, positives and negatives. Now, since the charges balance each other, we do not conduct electricity. But when there is a disbalance between the number of protons and number of electrons, then charge, for example, if there are 3 protons and 4 electrons, then that particular atom, which will now be called an ion, will bear a negative charge. At that particular moment, we know that there is the existence of charges in the entire universe. The entire universe is composed of 2 poles. One is positive and the other is negative. The one is positive, the other is negative. There are 2 poles in the entire universe. And Imam alayhi salam is saying these poles were not created today. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe, 2 poles were automatically formed. 2 poles were formed there. And then these 2 poles are natural. Everyone, be it emotional, be it physical, be it biological, everything is composed of 2 poles. We will also discuss this particular topic, which has been addressed in the teachings of Haweij alayhi salam in the upcoming Majalis, inshallah. Everything is composed of either there will be a positive side or there will be a negative side. Everything is based upon 2 poles. Now, Imam alayhi salam, even today, this particular Big Bang is accepted by everyone, but the creation of 2 poles, when we speak on the scientific concepts, people come up to us and say that when a particular thing has been proven, only then you speak of a particular thing. Come and sit in the Majalis of Abdullah Hussain. Imam alayhi salam is saying that when the creation was created, at that very moment 2 poles were created. And this particular topic, this particular concept has not been discussed at all in the scientific history. Imam alayhi salam. Now again, this is from the point where I started my discussion, that all these scientific concepts are a proof of the legitimacy that the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam were not ordinary people, they were from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now if a person is telling us about the creation, that how the creation was created, and if a person is informing us about how the creation was created, and that information proves to be true in the upcoming centuries, then the world is left with only 2 options. The first, either to accept that the ilm and the knowledge possessed by the Ahlul Bayt was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was from the Creator who created everything, or the second is that when the entire creation was being created, they were a witness to this creation. Salawat on Muhammad and another salawat with the loudest voice on Muhammad. Everything, Imam alayhi salam is speaking about the creation, how this universe was being created. Today we know that the age of the visible universe. Now remember this terminology, visible universe. Inshallah we will discuss what is visible universe and what is the invisible universe. The visible universe, today we know that the age of the visible universe is nearly 14 billion years old. And the age of this earth is nearly 4.6 billion years ago. The earth was created 4.6 billion years ago. Now the universe was created. When it was created, it was initially one solidified condensed unit, one solidified and condensed mass, and then the heavens and the earth were segregated. But what about the creation of this particular planet in which we live, in which we breathe, in which we live, this particular earth? The earth was created around 4.6 billion years ago. And Amir al-Momineen speaks about the creation of the earth in the very first sermon of Nahjul Balagha. Amir al-Momineen describes how this particular planet was created. What were the initial conditions when this planet was created? Why can't Mars have life? Why can't Venus have life? Why can't Jupiter have life? Why? Because they are devoid of water. Water is the essence of life on this particular planet, and Amir al-Momineen speaks about this fact nearly around 14 centuries ago. Very first sermon of Nahjul Balagha. Very first sermon of Nahjul Balagha, where Amir al-Momineen describes how this world was created. The people are confused and perplexed. Still today we have only theories and theories and theories how the earth was created. There are n number of theories how this earth was created, how this atmosphere was created, how the life came into existence on this planet. But imagine the fact that today, after all these scientific developments, we only have theories and theories about the creation of this earth. With all these scientific equipments, with all these scientific intellectuals present in this modern world. But nearly 14 centuries ago, there was a man who was describing the creation of this earth, who was describing how life came into existence on this planet. And Amir al-Momineen spoke, and look how Amir al-Momineen described the creation of life on this particular planet. Salawat Muhammad and Ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another salawat, one video. And only that particular excerpt from this particular sermon, the first sermon of Nahjul Balagha, where Amir al-Momineen describes how life came into existence on this planet. Now, think on and ponder and reflect on each and every word which was used by Amir al-Momineen. Amir al-Momineen speaks about the creation of this, how this planet got life. Amir al-Momineen says that He, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, initiated creation most initially and commenced it originally without undergoing reflection, without making use of any experiment, without innovating any movement, and without experiencing any aspiration in mind. He allotted all things, we'll discuss each and every word inshallah. He allotted all things their times, put together their variations, gave them their properties, and determined their features, knowing them before creating them. This is Ali. These are the words of Ali. Knowing them before creating them, realizing fully their limits and confines, and appreciating their properties and intricacies. When Almighty created the openings, Salawat Muhammad and Ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll discuss each and every word inshallah. Just listen to the sermon of Amir al-Momineen. Listen to the words of Amir al-Momineen. When Almighty created the openings of atmosphere, expanse of firmament, and strata of winds, He flowed into it water whose waves were stormy and whose surges leapt one over the other. He loaded it on dashing winds and breaking typhoons, ordered them to shed it back, that is rain. Ordered them to shed it back as rain, gave the wind control over the vigor of rain, gave the wind control over the vigor of rain, and acquainted it with its limitations. The wind blew under it while water flowed furiously over it. Amir al-Momineen goes on to say, then Almighty created forth wind and made its movement sterile, perpetuated its position, intensified its motion, and spread it far and wide. Then he ordered the wind to raise up deep waters and to intensify the waves of the oceans, so the wind churned it like the churning of curd. Like the churning of curd, and pushed it fiercely into the firmament, throwing its front position on the rear and the stationary on the flowing, till its level was raised and the surface was full of foam. The surface was filled of, mark these words, the surface was full of foam. Then Almighty raised the foam onto the open wind and vast firmament, and made there from the seven skies. The seven skies, remember these words. Seven skies created from water. Seven skies, and made the lower one, the lowest sky, and made the lower one as a stationary surge, and made the upper one as a protective ceiling, and a high edifice without any pole without any pole. The heavens are raised without any pole to support it or nail to hold it together. Then he decorated them with the stars and the light of meteors, and hung it in the shining sky, and effulgent moon under the revolving sky, moving ceiling and rotating firmament. Now we'll discuss the rest of the khutbah, the rest of the sermon, inshallah, in the upcoming Majalis. Now ponder over the words of Amir al-Momineen. Amir al-Momineen, the gist and the essence of this essence of whatever we discussed until now is that initially there was water and water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, because that water was the source of creation. There was water everywhere on this planet. Water was everywhere on this planet. Why does Mars not have life? Why does Neptune does not have life? Why does Saturn does not have life? Why? Because they are devoid of water. They have atmosphere, but either the atmosphere is too dense, like it is on Venus, or it is too rare, like it is on Mars. But our atmosphere, the atmosphere we live in, is perfect for the upbringing of life, for the existence of life. Amir al-Mu'mineen is describing the fact that everything was created from water. And the term, seven skies were created from the water. Now how is this scientifically possible, that seven skies would be created from water? Now see, the modern science tells us that the atmosphere we live in is because of water. Why? Because the atmosphere, which is a blanket of gases around the earth, because of which there is life on this particular planet. The atmosphere exists because it is made of a number of gases. Gases like hydrogen, gases like carbon dioxide, gases like oxygen, nitrogen dioxide, gases like helium. Now these gases were originally all present in water. These gases were originally all present in water. Now the science says that this water was full of carbon dioxide, and there was the first creation was an anaerobic bacteria which used carbon dioxide and used the sunlight and gave out oxygen. Gave out oxygen. This oxygen rose in the sky and started building the atmosphere. The nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere is because of the nitrates present in the water. Hydrogen is because initially there were UV radiations, ultraviolet radiations on the water, which segregated the water molecules and which led to the creation of hydrogen gas in the atmosphere. and this led to the creation of atmosphere. Water was the cause of the creation of atmosphere. Water was the cause of the creation of atmosphere. Amir al-Momineen says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created 7 skies from water. Wow. 7 skies. 7 skies. How can this be scientifically possible? 7 skies. If suppose we were discussing this topic 100 years back, the people would say that there is just one single sky above us. There are not 7 different skies. But today, we know, the last century, it was discovered that the atmosphere is not a single unit. It is divided into 7 strata. It is divided into 7 layers. Amir al-Momineen is saying that the 7 skies were created from water. And today we know that these gases which make up the atmosphere were created from water. And this atmosphere is divided into 7 units. The lowest is troposphere, followed by stratosphere, followed by ozonosphere, followed by mesosphere, followed by ionosphere, followed by ionosphere, followed by exosphere. 7 different units, 7 different layers of this particular atmosphere. Now, Amir al-Momineen says that while the lowest of these 7 skies were used to create life on this earth, the uppermost sky behaved like a protective ceiling. And now we know that the lowest part of the atmosphere, which is the troposphere, is around, from the equator, it is around 18 kilometers above the ground. Then there is stratosphere, the part of the atmosphere where aeroplanes fly. Then there is ozonosphere, the part of the atmosphere which has ozone, which helps to prevent UV radiations from reaching the surface of the earth. And then there is ionosphere. Ionosphere is the part of the atmosphere which is filled up of ions, which is made up of ions, which is composed up of ions, and this also helps in protecting our planet from the harmful radiations which are coming from the sun. And then there is mesosphere, which is the coldest part of the atmosphere, and above 500 kilometers from the surface of the earth there is exosphere, which is the last and final strata and unit of this atmosphere. If the lowest unit, that is the troposphere, was not present, we could not breathe oxygen. Amir al-Momineen is saying that the lowest sky is the cause of the existence of life on this planet, while the uppermost sky, that is the exosphere, if it was not present, then harmful radiations from the sun would not allow life to persist on this planet. The uppermost layer is like a protective ceiling, while the lowermost layer is the part which allows the existence of life on this planet. Now, Amir al-Momineen says that 7 heavens were created. 7 heavens were created. 7 heavens were created. Even the Quran says that 7 heavens exist. Sab'a samawat in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 29. Sab'a samawat. 7 heavens were created. But this number 7 is a very miraculous number. This number 7 is a very miraculous number. Our lives revolve around this number 7. 7 heavens, according to Amir al-Momineen and according to the glorious Quran. The word Sab'a Samawatin, that is 7 heavens. Interestingly, this phrase also appears 7 times in the glorious Quran. The very first chapter of Quran, that is Surah Al-Fatiha, the name itself is composed of 7 alphabets. Again, this particular surah, the opening chapter of the glorious Quran, is based upon 7 verses. Every Muslim agrees on this fact that Surah Al-Fatiha is composed of 7 verses. Subtract Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and then bring me 7 verses from Surah Al-Fatiha. This is a proof that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a part of Surah Al-Fatiha. 7 verses in Surah Al-Fatiha. Similarly, if we see the Arabic language, the number of alphabets are 28, which is also a multiple of 7. Similarly, if we see the initials in the Arabic language, they are 14, which are also the multiple of 7. 7 2s are 14. If we look at the life of our Holy Prophet, he lived for 63 years, which is also a multiple of 7. 7 9 is 63. If we look at the life of Amir al-Momineen, he attained martyrdom at the age of 63. Again, which is a multiple of 7. 7 9 is 63. If we look at the number of days in a week, they are also 7. 7 7 7 7 7 7. What is the reason for this number 7? What is the reason for this 7? 7. What is the reason of this number 7? Now look at the names of Ahlul Bayt. The names of 14 infallibles. The first name is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which appears 4 times in this particular list. First for our Prophet, then for our 5th Imam, then for our 9th Imam, and then for the Imam of our age. Second, the name of Amir al-Mumineen, Ali. Again, it appears 4 times in this particular list. Our first Imam is also Ali. Our 4th Imam is also Ali. Our 8th Imam is also Ali. Our 10th Imam is also Ali. Then Fatima, salamullah alaiha, the name appears once in this particular list. Then Hassan, the name appears twice. First for our 2nd Imam and then for our 11th Imam. How many names until now? 4. Then the word Hussain. Allah created only one Hussain. One Hussain, then one Jafar, and then one Musa. 7 names. 7 names. The entire creation is based on the number of 7. The entire creation is based on 7. Allah created these 7. And for these 7, the 7 heavens were created. Salawat Muhammad ala ali Muhammad. He created 7 skies, 7 heavens. 7 skies were created from water. Now, I'll like to pause for a moment at this particular sermon, the last for today's discussion. Amir al-Mumineen begins the khutbah, the sermon, by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything without reflecting, without thinking for a moment, without reflecting, without thinking for a moment. See, Quran asks us to reflect, to ponder. Afala yatafakkarun. Salvation is for those who think and ponder and reflect. Afala yatadabbarun. Salvation is for the ones, again, who think, who reflect, who ponder over the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran asks each and every reader of the glorious Quran to think, to ponder, and to reflect. Now, this characteristic of thinking, of reflection, of pondering over, when it is associated with the creation, it is a praiseworthy trait. We are told that one moment of a good reflection is better than 70 years of worship. When it comes to creation, see, if we have to start a business, if we have to take up a job, do we just simply go and start a business? We think over it. We ponder over it. We reflect over it. If we have to take up a particular job, we take advice from the learned, from our elderlies, from those who are experienced. We reflect and we ponder and we think over and over and over. Amir al-Mulad, the Tawheed described by Ali. When we start up something new, we think and reflect and ponder. Amir al-Momineen is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything without giving a single thought. Without reflecting for a moment. Now this reflection, this thinking over and over and over, when it is associated with the creation, it is a praiseworthy trait. It is a praiseworthy characteristic. But when it is associated with the Creator, then it is a negative trait. Then it is a negative characteristic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not think. Look at the Tawheed described by Amir al-Momineen. Look at the Tawheed described by Amir al-Momineen. Don't ever try to teach us Tawheed. Because we are followers of the school of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We are proud disciples of the school of Amir al-Momineen. We know what Tawheed is. Our master, our Mala, our commander has told us what Tawheed is. When we begin a particular thing, we think over and over and over. Allah created this entire universe without giving a single thought. The Creator does not think. Allah does not think. The Creator does not think and reflect for a single moment. Allah does not think. This is the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He does not think. This is the attribute of Allah, or the one who is the manifestation of attributes of Allah. Neither Allah thinks. This is a very great challenge, and I am giving this challenge. Show me a single case, a single incident from the life of our Imams where any of our Imam was questioned and he replied, wait for a moment. Let me think. Let me think and reply. Wait, please wait for a moment. This is not a simple thing. Nearly 2.5 centuries of Zahiri Imamat. Give me a single case. Cite me a single example. Narrate to me a single incident where any of our Imam was questioned. Any of our Imam was questioned. And he replied, please wait for a moment, let me think. 63 years from the life of Amir al-Momineen. A single case where Ali was questioned. And he replied, give me a moment, let me think. Whether in a battlefield, if Ali is in Siffin, fighting a battle, he is questioned there, he answers there. Ali is on a prayer mat, going to pray, he is questioned there, he answers there. A single moment I ask for, a single example I ask for. Cite me a single example, a single case where Ali was questioned. Bring me an Imam like Ali. Bring me this is not a usual thing, this is not a simple thing. 63 years of life and not a single case, not a single case, not a single case where Ali was questioned and Ali reflected for a moment. Ali thought for a moment. Ali gave a single thought. As the poet puts it forward in the most beautiful manner, he says in 4 lines, most beautiful manner, this particular concept. He says, Hisab, Yaad. He says, Hawala yaad nahi hai, kitab sochne de. Hawala yaad nahi hai, किताब सोचने दे, कहां से पूछ रहा है, निसाब सोचने दे, अली की उम्रे अली में कोई सवाल तो ला, जहां अली ने कहा हो जवाब सोच ले। From the lives of our Imams, where they were questioned and they did not answer. But we find a particular case where an Imam questioned in the plains of Karbala. Hussain questioned, why are you killing me? Have I altered the Sharia, the path of my grandfather? They unanimously replied, Bughzan li abik. We are killing you out of our animosity for your father. Hussain, the name is enough. Cry and to wait and to learn. Even Imam Hussain alayhi salam himself said that every moment, in the heart of every moment lies my grave. In the heart of every moment is a grave of mine. A moment would not remember me but cry for me. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam cried throughout their lives. Our fourth Imam, the narrations tell us, Hussain, who was brutally slaughtered in the place of God. Our fourth Imam would pass by the streets of Medina, would pause at a butcher's shop, and when he would see an animal being slaughtered, Imam would ask, did you provide this animal with water? The butcher would reply, O son of Rasulullah, we never slaughtered an animal without providing it water. Imam would look towards Karbala. Even a butcher, when he slaughters an animal, he provides water. But Allahu Akbar, Hussain, my father, who was brutally slaughtered in the place of Karbala, without being given a single drop of water. Allah, 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 Allah. Ajrakum Allah, Ja'alakum Allah. Our eighth Imam, Imam Raza once said to Rayyan ibn Shabib, Ibn Shabib, O son of Shabib, if you wish to cry, then cry for Hussain. If you wish to cry on anything, in kunta baqiyan li shay, Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, O son of Shabib, if you wish to cry, then cry for Hussain. And the next statement, Allahu Akbar, fa'innahu dhubiha kama yazba'ul kabsh. I don't know how I can translate this particular phrase from Imam Raza. This was not Imam's words. I would never ever translate them. Now, if you wish to cry, then cry for Hussain. Why? I don't know how do I translate this particular phrase of Imam Raza, but this is something which has been mentioned in various books of Majalis. Various ulama have narrated this particular phrase. If you wish to cry on anything, then cry for Hussain. Because he was slaughtered like a sheep. a dagger is used to slit the throat. I don't know how do I put it forward. A dagger is used to slit. Hussain was so thirsty. As Imam is saying, a dagger is used to slit, while an axe is used to strike. It was a dagger, but not used as a dagger. Because the throat of Abu Abdullah was not slit. The narrations tell us that Shemra Balloon striked the throat of Hussain, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 30 continuous strikes at the throat of Abu Abdullah. And Hussain, the first strike, Hussain said, Ya Ghiyaz al-Mustaqifi. The second strike, Hussain said, Wajadda. Third strike, fourth strike, fifth strike, sixth strike, Bismillah, wa billah, wa ala billah ta Rasulullah. अरे जंगल में आई फातिमा ज़हरा की ये सदा, उम्मत ने मुझको लूट लिया, वाह मोहम्मद है कौन अब जो हक तेरे बाकत करे अदा, है ये साल और तो आलम का मुक्तदा. अरे 1900 तले चाक चाक पर ज़हरा निकाल उसे तरफ आएगा.
Base model.